In today's video, I'm sharing the 12 most painful mistakes that I made when I moved to the Dominican Republic. And I hope by sharing these with you, you can avoid the same pain. Number 5 and number 12 were particularly bad, so stick around for that. But come for a ride with me and let's dive into this. The first one is assuming that the Dominican Republic is one market. When we talked to family and friends that lived here or went into different Facebook groups to look around, everybody would say, in DR this. Like, in DR, electricity is this much, or in DR, medical is this, or education is that. Now, this first mistake sort of sets up some of the other mistakes that we made, but just as a general overview, asking about DR overall doesn't paint an accurate picture depending on where in DR you're gonna go. Punta Cana is different from Puerto Plata. Santiago is different from Santo Domingo. Beach towns are different than mountain towns, etc., etc. Now you'll see why this is important as we roll through the rest of this video. The second mistake we made was romanticizing an unrealistic life. The truth is this: how you live in Canada, how you live in the United States is likely how you live here, or anywhere for that matter. While the culture, the weather, and the amenities offered lived all the way up to the hype, no doubt about it. We got a little head in the clouds on the possibility of what life could be there, like it'll be so different from the way we live in the United States. For people that are living in the US, Canada, or Europe, you're expecting a certain type of lifestyle. You just are, and you have to acknowledge that. Otherwise, this little experiment of living in the Caribbean won't work very well. Now, are there exceptions? Absolutely. There are some people who literally strip it down and simplify their lives. But that's usually in conjunction with a life change. Like maybe you became empty nester, so your life naturally is going through a transition at the time that you move. Or perhaps some sort of medical issue or death in the family is prompting a complete life alteration, and the move is corresponding with that. But if you're simply retiring, or especially moving with a family with kids, more often than not, your lifestyle demands will creep toward the US sort of life with an underpinning of Dominican culture. So just be aware of that as we go through the rest. Now look, the first two tips are really more overarching. We're gonna get a little bit more granular and nitty gritty on these next few. But for those of you who are new to the channel, my name's Jamie. I moved here to the Dominican Republic in 2022, supposed to be for a year, and we never left. I have a wife who's Dominican, we have 2 young sons, and we have absolutely fallen in love with life in the Dominican Republic. On this channel, I share about investing here, moving here, traveling here, or news and noteworthy information, all regarding life in DR. And about half of you watching this right now are not subscribed. Ain't that crazy? Down here, just hit the button, or if you're on your TV, grab your phone, just hit the subscribe button. Helps me grow the channel, helps me deliver more content, but also I donate 2 cents to Second Mile Mission so we can educate more children here in the Dominican Republic for every subscriber that I get. Okay, painful mistake number 3 is listening to unrealistic budgets. This is where 1 and 2 become a foundation for this tip. Again, we made the mistake of listening to, oh, in DR, this is what it is. And then we romanticized this alternative lifestyle. So naturally, when we would listen to people say like, oh, electricity's $40 or $20 a month, it's cheap here. We were like, oh, okay. And we went with that when we moved. There are so many people out there, accounts on YouTube that are absolutely honest in what they spend per month. $1,000, $1,500 a month for like a family of 2 or 3. They're anomalies, particularly for the types of folks that follow me. At this point, a lot of people start to ask the most ridiculous question. Are you saying it's more to live, but how does somebody making $300 a month then survive there? Not like you would live. They're not the ones watching this channel. People watching this channel want to have a great life, a parallel style life in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, they might tamp it down a bit, don't get me wrong, but $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month lifestyle is a very different lifestyle in most cases than what you'll get in the United States. And again, that's what we came prepared with. So we were a little shocked when the neighborhood we really wanted, rents for a house that's 4 bedrooms was $4,000 to $5,000 a month. And we were really shocked when we got an electric bill for $500 or $600 in a month. And we were really shocked that cars, in many cases, are twice what they are in the United States for the same year, make, and model. I'm in a Honda CRV. We shipped this 2020 Honda CRV because to buy this exact model here would be almost $40,000. And this one we only paid $25,000 for, brand new. Look, of course you can live on as little as you want to. There are ways to do it. If you're somebody who loves to pay a lot of attention and time controlling each thing, turn the lights off, turn the AC off, only do it at this time. We only go out once a month to dinner. We can't have a pizza this Friday. It's not in the budget. If that's you, cool. Target the lower cost lifestyle. But trust me when I say this, have a home that's paid off, have a car that's paid off, or don't have a car and ride a moto. Look, I'll just say this. The people that have those low budgets and they respond to me saying,
Jamie, you're saying 5, 6, 8,000 to live in Punta Cana.
not DR, Punta Cana.
I live in the area for $1,500 a month.
And I ask just 1, 2, 3 questions and it all comes unraveling. Really, you have a kid. Are you homeschooling?
No, they're in private school. Oh, but I pay that for the year, so I don't count that in my $1,500 a month.
For one kid, it's 8 to 10,000 a month in most schools. Oh, what about travel?
Oh, no, I mean, that's just like pop-up. That's not,
And when something breaks down or your car,
oh, I don't have a car. We use my mom's car or insurance.
I had somebody reach out and say, we pay way less than that. And then after digging, it was like, I got a sweetheart deal with my brother. I rent a place from them. It includes electric and they charge me very little. It's like, okay, but not everybody's gonna have that, right? So I understand that there are budgets out there that are less, but please scrutinize them and make sure that they fit where you want to live and how you're going to live. Because I tell you now, in a few different questions, typically it completely comes apart. And often I've found that people will tell me their best month's budget. My electric bill was only $8. Really? You pay $8 a month?
Well, that was what it was a few months ago. Because this happened and it got a little hotter in the summer, I mean, it is more than that right now.
Stuff like that. It's like anything. Everybody wants to be like, oh, dude, this is so much better. It's only. They're just sharing, what they feel is like to motivate and inspire you. But I'll tell you what, when we got hit with the first set of bills that we got, I had to make some adjustments to our budget and our lifestyle. I was not expecting that. Again, a mistake I made. I'll move on, but this is the one that's gonna get the most pushback. And here's what I'll say to you if you doubt me. Go ahead. I don't care. Just DM me in that moment where you go, damn, Gringo was right. All right, mistake number 4 was not understanding the world of private versus public. All of these mistakes stack on top of each other. NDR this, the cost is that. No, está bien. Está bien. This guy's got me, he's trying to sell me some cleaning service. Where was I? Oh yeah, private versus public. NDR, the medical system sucks. NDR, there's not great education. A lot of people that don't believe a move to the DR is a feasible option will say that. And it's a mistake that I listen to. What am I doing to my family, bringing them there? Oh my God, we can only do a year. When you hear horror stories and people will tell them like, oh, I disagree with you on medical in DR. Again,
I had this happen and the doctor almost made me lose my foot.
and I don't doubt any of these stories, but ask one more question. Was that the public system or the private? Here's the deal with the private system. My dermatologist is certified with the ADA, the American Dermatologic Association. In fact, when she did a little work on me, a surgery on my back for removing something, she just got back from a conference in San Diego. Our kid's allergist in Santo Domingo, who's putting them through immunotherapy. And by the way, found allergies that our US doctor didn't because he actually did the work. We were avoiding gluten and all this other stuff, and the kid wasn't even allergic to it. Thank you, USA. But anyway, this doctor studied at Columbia University, where he got his medical degree. He was a pediatrician for 20 years in New York City. He's Dominican. He moved back, opened his practice in Santo Domingo, and has another practice in Augusta, Georgia, of all places. The private system is every bit as good as the public system in the United States. I'll touch on why you want access to both systems in a moment, but private medical care, know this, is very different than public. So when you hear these stories of NDR medical, guaranteed it's public nightmare stories, not private. Same goes for education. In Punta Cana, there are no less than 6 US accredited bilingual international schools that you could put your kids in. Let me see if I can name them. It's Ashton School, PCIS, Heritage, Bávaro Bilingual, Bávaro Innovation, Máximo Potencial. That's at least 6, which also goes to a point that's not a mistake, but just a quick sidebar. A lot of people say Punta Cana doesn't have the culture of DR. It's not the real DR. It's just a tourist trap. It's a tourist veneer for sure. It's a tourist hub. But there are 6 bilingual, full K through 12 international schools. Why do you think that is? There's hundreds of thousands of people living here, most of whom are Dominican. They're on the upper end of the socioeconomic spectrum. They lived in the US or Canada and moved back. It's not easy to find the community in Punta Cana in the first week, 2, 3, or even a couple of months. But if you live here for at least 6 months, you'll step into a world in multiple communities that is pure family, pure Dominican culture. My Dominican friends say that as well. It's not just me. But again, DR is not applicable for medical or education. Public or private should be your next question. I didn't think to do that. All right, number 5 is a biggie. And honestly, if you did nothing else out of these 12 different than I did, do this one different. Please, please, for the love of God, the moment you move here, get private health insurance. And don't skimp. Get a good plan. Within a few months of moving here, I had this GI issue, which forced me to have to get a colonoscopy. Now, thankfully, that's not a medical emergency, and we could verify payment and do all the things to make sure that the doctor knew they were gonna get paid, even though I didn't have local insurance. It cost me a little over $2,000 for every process and step, along with the anesthesiology and the actual colonoscopy. Now, that's not a lot of money if you consider what it would cost in the United States. And that's not the reason, honestly, to get private medical insurance. And by the way, colonoscopy went great. The thumbnail may look like it didn't, but it wasn't as scary as that looks. Shoot, did I miss it? I just missed my turn. I'll have to go back and find it. So where not having private medical insurance becomes scary is if you need emergency care, like real emergency care. Now, after that event, we went out and bought medical insurance. And shortly after, one of our kids had to be hospitalized with dengue fever. When we got to the hospital, they were actually going to send us through a whole process to verify, oh, wait, you're international, you're this, you're that. They just sort of made the assumption that we didn't have local coverage. So when my wife said, oh, wait, no, we have this policy, which we have with a company called Umano, within a minute, we were swept over to a different part of the hospital for check-in, and our kid was in a private room by himself for the next 2 nights. Now, at the end of that, we went downstairs, we showed our medical insurance card at checkout 2 nights later. There's no, we'll bill you later, we'll see how much the insurance covers. They just said, okay, insurance covers this, and our out-of-pocket charge was about $44. 2 nights in the hospital, private room, private medical system. Now, we pay about $3,500 US a year for our medical plan, which is an investment, and I would make that investment. For a family of 4, that's not crazy. But my biggest fear is if I get knocked out or something happens and ambulance takes me to a hospital and they can't verify that I have local insurance, that they're gonna shuttle me off to a public hospital, and God knows what happens along the way. So get the private coverage to make sure that doesn't happen. All right, mistake number 6 was underpaying staff. And I'll be honest, we didn't make this mistake as much as I see it being made a lot. Here's the thing. There is a market for how much a housekeeper or a cook or whomever can charge. And they know that if you're coming from the US or coming from Canada, that you probably have enough money to pay them a little bit more. And yet I see people haggling over, like, say, what amounts to $5 or $10 a week in extra pay that the person wants, simply because, well, everybody says it should only be this much. You gotta zoom out. For what you're getting for that money, it's okay. You're not resetting the market. I don't think you should pay 2, 3, 4 times and make it expensive for everyone else in whatever neighborhood you live in. But I do think that you should be fair and buy a little loyalty from whoever it is that's helping you with cleaning or watching your kids or whatever it might be. In Punta Cana, where we live, for a full-time cleaning lady who comes to your house 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, does all your laundry, takes care of your cooking, cleans the house, the market is probably somewhere between $400 and $500 US a month. We pay our $6 and also pay her transportation back and forth each day, which is about $1. And at times we help her out with other things that she might need. But here's the thing. She watches our kids all the time. She's with our kids once a week on date night. She shifts her Thursday schedule to go from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. She does a great job, and she's a part of what our family is at this point. So we're paying more, sure, but it's not a lot of money for somebody from the US. For her, all the difference in the world. Now, another mistake I made was sort of maybe out of pity, thinking like, oh, just give him the money, just give him the money. And what I've come to learn is that's very patronizing. Our cleaning lady is probably happier than I am. She makes a good living. She lives a solid life. She has her marriage, her kids. She has what she needs. In fact, when she stays at our house, we're like, oh, put on the air conditioning. She's like, no, I don't want the air conditioning. So I think sometimes we get in our heads that, wow, you know, I could show them such a better life, and not understanding like they're happy with the life the way it is. Always wanting more, we all do. But those who know. You know? All right, I just got to my destination. I got tip number 7 coming to you. That is dropping US medical insurance. A couple tips ago, I probably should have made this one after that. I said, hey, get local insurance here in DR. And absolutely you should. But that doesn't mean you should drop all coverage in the United States. Look, there are doctors here that will do operations on your heart, that can handle cancer or anything big. But the technology and training in the United States is still overall superior. Many will cite the fact that the elites here in DR, the multimillionaires and billionaires, or even presidents, go to the US for their coverage and their care as a sign that like they won't even treat in DR. But you have to understand a couple of things here. They have the means and ability to pay out of pocket for the top of the top professionals. Those folks that are available for a fee, not worrying about whether your plan covers this or that, they're in the US. So don't compare yourself to the billionaires here and saying like,
Well, if they go, then the DR system must suck.
no, they go for the best of the best of the best because they can pay for that. Those folks are in the US. Let's be real. But I know that if something happened here and I was diagnosed with something, I probably would want at least a second opinion back in the US. And that is 100% because I'm conditioned to that mindset. But I still say, why not have the option of using the DR medical system or the US medical system? Or even more so, if you're airlifted, there's a possibility if you're airlifted out of, say, Punta Cana or Puerto Plata, you're going to Miami instead of Santo Domingo. So having coverage up there is important. Now, what I did is I went out and got a health share plan, not a health insurance plan, but it acts just like it. It's called Zion Health. I have no affiliation with them other than I pay them every month, and they cost me about $300 per month for my family to maintain a policy there. It's somewhat limited, but it's available to me and I can use it. And remember, this is for a family of 4. Keep this tip in mind. When I mention these prices, you're probably going to see comments like,
You're paying $300 a month in DR, I only pay $40.
and for some reason, people don't say,
Oh wait, but that's just for me. not for a family of 4.
I get the difference. That's okay. Keep commenting. It drives the algorithm and pushes this video out more. In fact, drop I love this video down below to really get this thing churning if you're loving the video. Even if you're not, just lie. Who cares? You've lied before. You know you have. You know it. Oh yeah, and subscribe. Have you done it? Did you sit there like, I heard him the first time, maybe I'll do it later? No, do it now! Subscribe! Please. My wife would remind me. Be nice. Mistake number 8 for me was thinking I needed a visa. Before I moved here, I was like, oh my God, I gotta get all these documents in line and this, that, and the other. But I learned pretty quickly, like, I actually don't need a visa to live in the Dominican Republic. Not as an American citizen, probably not as a Canadian or European citizen either. The way it works here is when you leave the airport after staying past 30 days, they fine you. They tax you, they call it. And they have a whole process to the airport. Look here, I'll put up what the actual fees look like. And that lays out all the prices based on how long you stay. I know somebody that's been here 20 years, no citizenship, from Canada, and he just hasn't left. He loves it here. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He's kind of a homebody. In fact, he hasn't left Punta Cana in 5 years. Doesn't even know what the toll booth looks like when you get out of the area. So you don't need a visa. A lot of people complicate the move, like, oh, I need this, I need that. And then other people will be like,
Well, you're just being illegal.
it's like, no, you're not. The DR sets the standard, and they're saying, hey, pay for the cedula. We got your money. But if you don't want to, that's cool. The longer you stay, the more you pay us. Do what you want to do. Now, I do think it's smart eventually to get citizenship, and I've been talking about working on this for a long time. But there's little things. If you get into legal trouble of any kind, it's better to be Dominican than to not be Dominican. The ability to vote comes with citizenship. Or just, honestly, it just feels right if you're committing to a long-term life here, no matter how long, even if it's like, not forever, but for a while, it just feels like the right thing to do to sort of become part of that citizenry. It's like getting your license in the state that you moved to. You got to do it anyway. The next mistake we made cost us a bunch of money. It's with overtipping. Probably out of guilt, the first year and a half at least, we would tip like we did in the United States. It's pretty healthy, to be honest with you. When you go to a restaurant and you pay, there's going to be 2 things you see on the bill. There's an 18% ITBIS, which is like the sales tax, or a VAT, a value add tax. And there's a 10% legal fee, they call it. That legal fee is technically the gratuity that the restaurant needs to pay to the servers. That's why you'll see a lot of team service in DR versus like, this guy is my server. And what we would do is throw 20% on top of it. So 18 plus 8, or no, I mean 10. That's 28, and then we would do another 20. So we're paying like 50% of the base bill, and it's elevated when you live in a Punta Cana versus other parts of the country. Again, in DR. And honestly, even when we figured out like, it's probably not right, in our mind was,
Well, the restaurants don't give those people that 10%. They keep it for themselves.
for some reason, we felt like we needed to be the ones to make that up to them. Probably just a personal connection with the servers, especially the restaurants we go to quite a bit. But it wasn't just restaurants. If we went to a grocery store and the guy bagged like one thing and handed me the bag, I'd give him 100 pesos. It's like $2. It's a 50-cent tip at best, like 30 pesos, you know? So you gotta be mindful that tipping is a US thing, a Canadian thing. It is in the Dominican Republic as well, especially in the more Americanized areas like Punta Cana, probably like Puerto Plata, certain areas of Santo Domingo and Santiago as well. But you can't, I mean, you're paying 28% on the restaurant bill to start. Like, you're not responsible for every dollar. I think that even if it's a big bill, like a percentage doesn't even what it is, it's like you can cap it. Like for almost any bill, 500 pesos is a really nice tip. If it's a stupid bill, like we went to a restaurant called Nina and spent $700 because it's in the St. Regis in Cap Cana, we gave him 1,000 pesos. You know, in the States, you might feel compelled to give him $140. 1,000 pesos is like a little less than 20 bucks. So just, you have to be mindful of not over tipping. It's okay to give a 25 peso coin to the kid that bags your groceries. It's okay to give 50 pesos if he's bagging a whole bunch. It's okay to give 100, 200 pesos on the bill at the restaurant as opposed to calculating a percentage. You start to burn through a lot of money when you're tipping too much. All right, mistake number 10, thankfully, I did away with pretty quickly, and that was selecting US dollars when I paid with a US credit card. In a prior video, I went up to the register and showed, I think it was like $69 is the US charge, and I chose pesos instead. Because when you looked at my credit card bill, my credit card converted that charge to only 61. The store is gonna charge you a worse conversion rate than your bank will. So pay on a US credit card by using peso. Select the peso option, not the USD option. Over the course of a month, oh my God. Guys, we spend $1,500 a month on groceries, I would say. Family of 4, we go to a regular grocery store, we live in Punta Cana. Cue the
1,500 is crazy in DR.
down below. Again, in DR. Be careful with that one. If you look at the $69 example, that is 12% more than what my credit card company converted it to. So on $1,500, that's like $180 a month that you would just wash away by hitting this button instead of that. Hit Dominican pesos when you use your US card. Trust El Gringo. Mistake number 11 isn't really for me, but maybe my wife, or I hear this from a lot of people that are Dominican. So for you Dominicans out there, this mistake is one you can make. I can't because I'm not Dominican. And that is succumbing to the pressure to fit somebody else's definition of what it is to be Dominican. I see this with my wife. In fact, I've heard people listen to her accent, and because it doesn't sound a certain way, they kind of question her Dominicanness. Or for those out there, and I know these folks, they're in my inner circle, my DR inner circle community, which by the way, click the link below and you can join. We'd love to have you as part of the community, 300 strong and growing. But many of them admit in that community, like, hey, look, I'm that person. I make a good living. I make, multiple six figures. I can do it anywhere. I want to move there. I don't want to have to, worry about electricity going out. I want to live a good life down there. But man, my family members and everybody tell me I'm crazy for the lifestyle I'm seeking down there. Because a true Dominican, insert box into XYZ, and I just hate to see people go through that. Yo, be right there. I'm just finishing a quick film. I'll say this as a non-Dominican, just my thoughts, and you can dismiss it because I'm not Dominican. I truly hate the notion that Dominicans are defined as quote unquote typical, which means poor or living in barrios. I know many Dominicans that are Dominican. They'll drop right now and do a merengue. They'll crank the reggaeton. They'll pound back Brugal and Presidente through one of those hats at the same time. All the fun, silly, goofy stuff that we talk about with Dominican. They'll drive backwards with a blindfold going 140 miles per hour and run from the cops. All Dominican stuff. You get my point. But they make a good living. They've climbed out of it. They've started businesses. They sell real estate and ascended to the top of the food chain as that person. Why are they not real Dominicans? They are too. They live a good life. The $700 bill, we had another Dominican couple who's never lived anywhere but the Dominican with us, paying just as much. It didn't come from money. They built it. Here's the only thing I believe a typical Dominican should be defined as: unbelievably resourceful. In the past, especially, and still to this day in many areas, resources for many people here are limited. So the amount of resourcefulness Dominicans have has been passed down generation to generation, whether you grew up in the States, Canada, or here in DR. And it doesn't matter if you're President Abinader or if you're the lowest income Dominican in the country. Ain't no excuses for not getting stuff done for a true Dominican. That's the only typical Dominican explanation that I'll personally accept. But again, I'm not Dominican. I may cross a line if I say,
Hey, this is what I define Dominicans as.
and I don't want to do that, but whatever, I just did. It's my channel. Nobody has to watch. So just be mindful of the pressure to be defined as a certain type of Dominican. From what I see from afar, it's very hurtful to some people. All right, I'm going to share my number 12 mistake. And this one, again, cost us money, cost us frustration, and maybe even relationships. But I want you to stick around because I'm going to also give you 3 outdated pieces of advice that everybody gets that I think are not relevant or not very relevant anymore. But first, mistake number 12. Do not hire family members or family members' friends for important things. Everyone's got an attorney in the family, or their family member knows an attorney. Everyone's friend has a house they can rent or buy. We have realtors and lawyers in my wife's family. We have car dealers in my wife's family. And every one of those transactions were a pain in the ass. They were done terribly. And I really don't believe that these family members are incompetent. Not at all. They're just familiar. Literally, family familiar. The beauty of Dominican culture is there's an expectation that family is the most sacred bond in the world. And I don't believe it's a conscious thing. I think it's subconscious that the family members that are there to help you and serve you and do what you need for them or what they need to do for you, they understand how sacred that bond is. So there's no risk in not doing a great job. You're still gonna be there. You're still a family member. You're still a friend. Now this might be like, well, not my family. I don't know. I can't speak for your family, but here's what I will say. At a certain point, I remember going to a dinner with a bunch of guys, all of whom are Dominican or are married to a Dominican woman. And I said something like, guys, man, like, we hired my wife's aunt for this. And like the reaction of everybody, they're like, how did that go? Huh? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, dude, family members are the worst people to do business with. And I was like, yes, exactly. Now that doesn't mean that, like if you have a seamstress in the family, like it's just a pair of pants, have them sew it up for you. Or, if they're gonna help you with your wedding, I don't know. But like if it's a big financial decision, maybe wedding's not a good example, I would absolutely hire somebody independently. Get a friend to refer a professional. Don't go to a family member who refers their friend who is the professional. And certainly, even more so, don't get the family member that is the professional. It's a mistake we made a few different times and it cost us money, it cost us headache, it cost us problems. And like I'm one that's like, screw them. My wife's like, no, that's family. Again, the beauty of the culture. All right, those are my 12 mistakes. painful mistakes. And now I want to give you some dated advice or overstated advice that people give. There's 3 of these. You ready for them? You ready? Let me know in the comments if you've gotten any of these, or even if you've made any of these painful mistakes like I did. Number 1 overrated advice: don't show wealth. I hear you, I understand that, and I'm not saying that you should just go out and wear the chain and have rings and like walk around with all the most opulent things in your hands in the worst neighborhoods. No. Be smart. But the notion is like you can't go to Zona Colonial with anything, with a phone. You're gonna get pickpocketed, people are gonna take things off of you. You need to like staple the bag to your body and double bulletproof, wrap it up to make sure nothing gets taken from it. I don't get it. I've been in some very common basic towns and there's like Mercedes G-Wagons there. Drive around Punta Cana a little bit, I know, or Santo Domingo, there's McLarens and Lamborghinis and Tesla Cybertrucks and all this stuff, and they go through the country. Now look, is it more likely that you could get in the wrong spot if you are showing a level of wealth and be taken advantage of? Absolutely. But this idea that, oh my God, you better buckle it down, leave everything in a hotel safe.
Do not go anywhere showing any level of wealth. If you've got your wedding ring on, they're gonna chop your finger off and eat it in front of you.
I don't know why they would do that, but you get my point. It's an overstated, I think outdated piece of advice. The second one is one that we almost succumbed to, which is do not ship a car. We weren't going to. We heard all this terrible horror stories from the past that we shipped it and it was perfect. But even when we did, I got inundated because I did a video on this with,
did you check this sensor? Did they take the pedal off the gas tank? Did they remove your rearview mirror and then beat you with it and put it back? Is the entire interior laying on the back of the car? Did they make you give them their firstborn? Is the engine missing?
Everybody told me about how bad it's gonna be, or you better check this, you better check that, and it was fine. And the other people that have shipped vehicles recently, I'm getting the same story. Again, doesn't mean that things don't go missing on car shipments. Look, there's a newsletter down below with the guy that we use to ship our car. He pays me nothing to tell you about him. He speaks only Spanish. My wife dealt with him. There's a WhatsApp. Click that newsletter. There's a grid in the middle of it. It gives you everything you need. Have the right connect, ship the car. That's the advice. Aduana, which is the customs, they're a pain in the ass. They're gonna hold things up, this, that, and the other. The right connect, though, will help you get through it. And again, it's not invalidating stories of vehicles being shipped and issues happening, and they happen today, but not like they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. Again, ask more questions when you're getting this advice. Don't ship a car, this happened, this was taken. When was that? 1987? Like literally people say that. So I think it's a bit of an outdated piece of advice. And my third and final, is there a drum roll or something? I don't know, will we build up to it really? Kind of said it, but I'll give it to you anyway. Third and final bad piece of advice. It's cheap to live in DR. It can be inexpensive to live in certain parts of DR. It's less expensive than the United States in most places, but even where it is equally expensive, like Michigan to Punta Cana is pretty much even. I get way more for the money in Punta Cana, way more. But please, excuse me, please don't assume cheap to live in DR. It's only $1,500 in DR. Figure out where you're gonna live, figure out how you're gonna live, and then understand it's less expensive, but it's not cheap. That is the best advice I could give to anyone considering the move down here. I'd be really curious to hear of the 12 mistakes I made, which mistakes you've made, which mistakes you've avoided, or which one really resonated for you. Drop it down in the comments. Again, subscribe. I hate to keep asking, but I really want to grow this channel. I think it helps people. And if you're getting value, I'd really appreciate you hitting all the buttons, liking, subscribing, notifications, making comments, doing all that stuff. In the meantime, you can watch this video, which goes into a few different tips for how to live abroad here in the Dominican Republic. Take a look at that, and I'll see you guys all on the next one.